and welcome to Brief Encounters. Our guest today is Ms. Ritika Goyal, a human rights lawyer and policy researcher with a distinguished background in both legal advocacy and international research. Ma'am holds an LLM in human rights law from the University of Nottingham and a BA LLB from National University of Study and Research in Law, Rachi. She currently serves as a research consultant at Columbia Global Freedom of Expression, where she works on UNESCO-funded projects concerning freedom of speech, digital rights, and image-based abuse. Her work spans across critical areas such as mental health law, prison reform, and refugee rights, and she's collaborated with global NGOs, international institutions, and human rights experts. With an extensive publication record and contributions to policy reform in India and the UK, Ritika ma'am brings a unique blend of grassroots experience and global perspective. We are honored to have her here today, joining us on the podcast. Hello and welcome to Brief Encounters. It is such an honor having you here today.
Thank you so much, Ria. I'm very happy that we are finally doing this podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course, it is honestly such an absolute honor to have you here. Beginning with our first question for this podcast is something that I love to know because we ask all our guests about it. What inspired you to pursue a career in law? Was there a particular moment, an experience, or influence that sparked your interest and set you on this path?
So we are quite aware of this story where we listen that everyone got inspired by a different TV show or by some movies. And my story is honestly no different. It is just that it's not Suits. It was Adalat, which used to broadcast when I was in 7th standard. It was an Indian TV show and it used to broadcast at Sony Television, if I remember correctly. And when I just looked at the show, I got so fascinated and I thought that, okay, this is the field for me. And that is not an accurate representation of law at all. It is not. It was like there was a season when they just went to space and all of that. So that also happened. But yeah, when I watched it for the first time, I got inspired. And then my favorite subject was social studies or social sciences. And I was interested in those issues. So it just made sense. And then I remember when I was in 9th or 10th standard, everyone started preparing for JEE. So I thought, let me also just take a look at the process for law schools and what are different entrance exam. Do I need to give one or do I just need to get good percentage in 12th standard? But then I got to know about CLAT and I just looked at previous year question papers. I looked at the legal reasoning section and I really enjoyed it. And that was when I was sure that I want to do law. And it is also funny that in Adalat, it was purely litigation and I'm not in litigation at all now.
Oh my God, I think that journey is so relatable. I'm so tired of everyone saying suits. Because for me personally, I watched a show called How to Get Away with Murder and I was obsessed with it. And that's what gave me that spark towards law as a journey, although I'm still right in the beginning of it. So yeah, I think your journey is so relatable and the irony always exists. We watch something litigation related, we don't really go into that path.
Yeah.
But I hope law is treating you well. I hope you're enjoying your path so far as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes I feel that whenever I see the cast member of that show, Ronit Roy, he's my favorite. He was my favorite actor. Someday I would meet him, I would bump into him and I would say, oh, you are the reason why I'm doing law.
Oh my God, I completely get you on that. So you had mentioned that your journey to CLAT began with first you looking at past papers, looking at the reasoning section, and that inspiring some sort of a spark in you. But how was your journey preparing for CLAT otherwise? Was it challenging? Was it smooth? Did you enjoy the process? Was it reckless? And finally getting to NUSRL Rachi.
Yeah, so for me, I honestly don't remember because particularly because it has been I think around 7-8 years when I took CLAT, but it wasn't particularly smooth, but I really enjoyed the process. So I joined Career Launcher. It is one of the coaching classes in Delhi way back in 11th standard because I thought I would be able to manage it with humanities. So I had like 2 classes every week and they were 2 hours each. So I had more relaxed preparation because I built my base in 11th and then from 12th, I really focused on mock test and previous year question papers after my basics were already clear. and then I focused a lot on GK as well. And then since I was already doing humanities subjects, it was easier for me because a lot of static GK questions were already covered in those subjects, be it history or be it political science. So that was there. And then I do know that now the pattern has changed a lot, and most of the sections are reading based, which is yeah, something. I think it might be useful for some students, but I don't know if it would have been helpful for
Oh,
me. So that is there. And then when I was preparing for CLAT, I also read Hindu newspaper, a lot of editorials, which I feel that they are really helpful even now, because you will be able to increase your reading speed, and then you will be able to strengthen your English, your vocabulary, while also learning about different legal issues and different GK related issues. So I think that is really important. And then I cannot stress enough on the importance of looking at previous year question papers and mock test, mostly because you once you know about the process and you are in the habit of giving time test, it eases your anxiety when you are taking the actual test. So
yeah.
yeah, that was there, but I really enjoyed the whole journey. I enjoyed giving legal reasoning sections, just learning about different legal developments and applying different principles to different factual scenarios. Then the logical reasoning section at that time was also interesting. There were questions like X is related to Y is related to C, how are C and X related to each other. I just enjoyed those questions.
Right. In my batch, particularly, I think the change had happened from more one line questions to more reading sections. And I was looking at the past papers and I'm like, this is so much more interesting to work on than reading a good long paragraph for every single question. I completely get you. The whole process is very interesting, though.
Yeah.
Going through it, it was amazing. It's been a brilliant process.
And then we also had online exam, but now I think it's
Yeah, it's
physical
online.
exams
Right,
again. So
right, right.
that is there.
Now they've even reduced the number of questions from 150 to 120.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think
120
the
questions,
negative
120
marking
minutes.
has remained the same,
Yeah,
1/4. That
yes,
is
yes,
there.
yes. Oh my God. But that's one period of life. That was brilliant amount of effort put in.
I think, yeah, when I was in the process, I don't think I would have just enjoyed it. There was so much of stress also.
Yeah.
But when I look at it now, I just see the nice part of it,
I
that
get
I
it. I
enjoyed the whole
agree. I
process.
agree.
But I also had like plan B at that time. I was also interested in psychology. I still am. So I thought that if I don't get into an NLU, I just thought that it was NLU or nothing else for me. So I just thought that if I don't get into an NLU, I will just do a 3 years bachelor program in
Mhm.
psychology from some of the colleges in Delhi University, and
Right.
then maybe do law exam, 3 year course after that, from
Okay.
Delhi University,
Yeah.
if I just got in. But yeah, now I think Delhi University has also started to conduct 5 year
Yeah.
program. Earlier, they did not have that
Right,
course.
right, right, right. Yeah, our class was held in December. They had completely changed
Oh
everything in
yeah.
my year. It was one of the hardest papers as well. It was so traumatizing preparing for it. But now that it's over, I'm like, you know what? It
Yeah.
went well. The results worked out.
Yeah.
So I was going through your profile within law school as well. You've won multiple gold medals, scholarships. You've excelled in moods, and you've ranked second in your batch. How does one do that? What helped you stay focused and managed your time effectively in law school?
So, just a little clarification here. I did not excel in moods. I just did 2 moods, I think, and they just went well. But after that, I did not do
I
any
think you're
moods.
too humble. That's still a lot in law
No,
school. I understand now. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
So, my law school journey. So, I remember in my first year, I focused a lot on the exams that were conducted at the university itself. I even for like small exams, 10 marker exams, I would prepare way in advance a month before that. But after that, after my first year, I completely stopped. From my second year, I also started to do a lot of new things. I started to take part in different cultural activities or events that were happening in the university at that time. And then that was the time when we were introduced to moods a lot, and there were a lot of moots that were being conducted in different universities. So I thought, let me also just try for it. But even during those moots, I usually took the position of researcher, because that is the part that I enjoyed from the beginning itself. Then from my third year, I I stopped moots and I started to focus more on blog posts, writing newspaper articles, or writing research papers and all of that. And then I think, yeah, it was my third year, second semester, when the COVID happened. And then I was at home for 2 years. And fortunately, I was lucky that during the first wave, no one in my family contacted COVID. So I was at home and I just focused on reading a lot of newspapers, and just to get to know more about different legal debates that were happening or different bills that were being introduced in the parliament. And I thought, let me just try writing blog post about it, to just to get sense of everything that is happening and to learn more about it, and to just focus more on my research skills as well as writing skills. So I started doing that. Then, yeah, after that I mostly focused on blog posts. And then for the classes that were happening during the COVID, there were no classes that happened, so I had much more time. Everyone had just logged in and the teacher would speak, but no one was really present during those classes. So I had much more time to focus on other things. So while I was not focusing on classes much, I ensured that I was learning in some other way. So since it was the COVID time, a lot of organizations had started to offer many internships also, all remote and online. So I started interning at different places and learning through those internships. And for the exams, 2 years, I think it was mostly open book test kind of exams. But for the other years, I worked hard in the sense that when the exam was being conducted, before that, I would just focus on exams. I would take 1 week or 1 month, depending on whether they are just the continuous assessment test or whether they are the final test. I would take some time off and just focus on that, and I would pull all nighters and do that. But I think in hostel it's really interesting because everyone is awake, everyone is making Maggie,
Yeah.
everyone is having coffee, and you can always at even at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. you can knock others door and just
To be
take your,
awake and help
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah, everyone is awake. There's this commotion in the hostel, and you can knock at anyone's door and ask them to make you understand the concept. So I think I really enjoyed the whole process, and that the support from people and friends, it just made easier.
That sounds wonderful. I mean, I've been back home for like 2 months now. I'm a little bit, I'm missing college to go back. Although in the midst of it, it feels like a lot of pressure being put on us. But now that slowly, as time is moving forward, I'm like, have to hold on to law school a little more strongly. Only 3 years more left.
Yeah.
But that sounds amazing. And as you were saying, you have done experiences, you've had internships. As I was noticing, where from the very beginning they were very social services, human rights, all of that oriented. So, what kind of experiences in college were most influential in shaping your interest, towards international human rights or human rights in general?
Yeah, so I think from first year, I kind of had an idea that I really enjoyed doing research. So I was looking to intern at different research organizations and think tanks, but almost all of them said that they take interns only from third year. So during those first 2 years, I just did bunch of other things. I joined a chamber for 1 month and I was interning there. And then there was an internship at NCDRC, which was mostly about watching court proceedings. But then I think I don't know how, and I cannot remember, but I just reached out to one of my seniors who was working in the human rights field. She is 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗧, and shout out to her. So I reached out to her. She was working in similar field. She was working at a research organization, and I asked her how to enter this field. I have no guidance at all. And she said that I am working at this organization, which is Human Rights Defenders Alert at that time. And she asked me if you want to intern here. We are a team of just 4 people. I joined that organization. We were working on the rights of human rights defenders. We were filing some petitions to National Human Rights Commission for the release and for release of some of the human rights defenders who were arrested and illegally arrested at that time. And I also learned how to file different right to information requests to different bodies. And I was reading a lot about different international conventions, international human rights instruments. So that sparked my interest. And then after that, I kind of interned at similar places. For example, I also interned at Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, where I worked on the rights of prisoners and on police reforms. So that was the whole thing. And I think there was one more particular incident that really helped me strengthen my belief to work in the field. So Shrutika introduced me to Maya Daruwala, who is chief editor of India Justice Report. And
Okay.
at that time, so not at that time, she has been working on police and prison reforms in her entire life. She has like 35 years of experience working in that field. So I joined her as a research assistant, and I used to do a lot of research for her on these topics to pull out different statistics and data from different websites. And that is when I realized that I really enjoy this field, and I was still thinking about what particular issues I was more interested in, because human rights law is also a very wide field, and I don't think I have still been able to pinpoint some areas. But yeah, that is how my whole career began in human rights law.
So the trajectory in one way was always pointed towards that direction. It was just waiting for you
Yeah,
to pick it up and make a career out of it.
yeah.
That's amazing. I think something that people struggle, especially in university now, is that we have so many options. Everyone's so confused about what their niche should be. And they end 5 years and we're just exploring. I personally am still trying to figure out what my niche could be. But from what I've heard about your journey, it's important to gain experiences. It's important to understand and pinpoint what is exactly it is that sparks that flame inside of you, if I get it correctly.
Yeah, that is true, but I think it is really important to explore as
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
because I was fortunate to know that, okay, this is something that I really enjoy from the beginning itself.
Mhm.
But I think not everyone knows it from the beginning. So it is important to explore different fields, whether it is litigation, judiciary, or corporate law, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then now I see that there are so many different fields of law also coming up. So I think you should just enjoy the whole process and you should explore. And even if there are certain fields that do not exist at that particular time, but you think that they would be something in future, you should just go for it. For example, I'm really interested in mental health law, but when I joined law school, there was not much research happening in mental health law. So that was one of the main reasons why I also decided to go abroad and read more about mental health law, even though it was not happening,
Mhm.
not much research was happening in India.
That's amazing. That innate drive to look for things that don't exist, make it happen.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
has to be
there are
there.
so many areas that
Yeah,
are not explored well.
I
So
agree.
if you are really interested in it, just go for it. Just
Yeah.
do as much research as you can do. Approach different professors outside if they are working in similar areas. And then I think once you gain experience, and then you will also realize whether you actually enjoy that area or not. Because sometimes we feel that, okay, this is the thing for me, but when you pursue it, you realize,
It's
okay,
not.
no, this
Yeah.
is not happening. So
Oh my
yeah.
God. That's some great advice. And I would love to get some networking tips as we move forward with our questions as well on how to reach out to the right kind of people. But the next part that I wanted to move on to was indeed. So one of the most common, I think, debatable question law students have is to whether they pursue that right after undergrad or after work experience. You personally, you went right after your undergrad, if I understand correctly. So
Yeah.
how did you make that decision for yourself? And in hindsight, what are your thoughts on it?
So I think that is a deeply personal question, in the sense that it depends on your own experiences. For me, I decided to do masters directly after undergrad was So in third year, when I was looking at different research organizations and think tanks, I saw a profile of different employees there, just to gain an idea what kind of skills are the employers looking for to crack into that field. So I saw that a lot of people had master's degree and a lot of them had it from abroad. So that was the first time when I thought about doing LLM. And then when I was reading international human rights law in my fourth and fifth year, I realized that I still wanted to study more. And I thought that there were so many things that I was not taught in undergrad, which I wanted to explore more, like research skills, different research techniques, research methodologies. So I thought that let me just go for masters directly after my undergrad. But in my batch itself, there were so many people who had like 10 or 20 years of experience, and then they decided to go for LLM. So I
Right.
think it just depends on your own journey, or whether you feel that it is the correct thing for you right now, or whether you want to gain more experience in the field and then you realize that there are certain gaps in your understanding, and that is when you decide to go for masters. So I think both of them works. For me
Depending on the interest.
personally, did masters directly after undergrad worked.
That's great to know. So, what was your university shortlist like? Where did you apply? What led you to finally choose LLM in Human Rights Law, University of Nottingham?
Yeah, so I think that was the hardest part. I think even harder than writing SOP itself, because I
Obviously.
was so confused, and that was the first thing that I had to do. And
Mhm.
there was not much guidance at all. I looked online and I found some written interviews of some people, so I just read them, and I was trying to understand, like, how should I shortlist universities? There are hundreds of them. It is so difficult. So I also talked to a lot of seniors. Then they told me that you need to figure out what are the kind of areas that you want to expertise in, and then you should look for universities. So within that, you have to first look at the jurisdiction. For me, I looked at US and UK, because a lot of high rated universities are from those particular jurisdictions. So from those, I thought that let me just focus on UK, because if you try to focus in on a lot of jurisdictions, it is much more difficult. It makes your process more cumbersome, because different jurisdictions have different conditions and different way of writing SOPs or submitting applications. So I just wanted to focus on one jurisdiction, and I chose UK, because in US I also heard that you usually get scholarships once you have a lot of work experience, and I did not have that, and I also wanted scholarship. So I just decided to focus on UK. Then I looked at top rated universities or universities that I had heard about. I made an Excel sheet, and there were around 20, 30 universities that I had shortlisted first. And then I saw whether they provided any LLM in human rights law itself. And then there were like five, six universities. Then I looked at the modules. For example, I really wanted to learn more about prison reforms, police reforms, and mental health law. So then within those five, six, I shortlisted more universities. And then the final part was whether the university provided any kind of scholarship at all. Because I did not want to focus just on the external scholarships, because they are much more competitive
Mm.
and much more difficult to get, and I wanted to focus more on internal scholarships as well. So for University of Nottingham had this developing solutions master scholarship, particularly for students from Asia and African countries. So that was really helpful. So I decided to do my LLM in human rights law at University of Nottingham. Then there were other things as well that attracted me to the university. For example, they had a great research center. They were doing a lot of collaborative work with UN experts, so that really helped. Then they had a lot of internship and voluntary opportunities as well. And then they had like 5-6 professors in mental health law, and they had like a center for mental health law. So I thought that this makes absolute sense for me to go for University of Nottingham.
That's understandable. So, from what I understood from your process of shortlisting, it's focus on your area of focus on the area of law that you want to pursue or think about pursuing in, then go for jurisdiction, then go for rand universities, and in that way, go for the application process. I think that could be like a 3-step guide sort of a situation for other students who may struggle to shortlist their own kind of university when they're thinking about it.
Yeah, it's also that when I was shortlisting my universities, I wanted to focus more on high ranked universities, but sometimes they don't have the kind of expertise that other maybe not so higher ranked universities have. So you need to ensure that as well, that you are not just focusing on the prestige of the university, but really focusing on modules and research centers and the faculty members there, whether they specialize in your area of law or not.
That is some actually really great advice. I mean, at the end of the day, you will be spending a good 1 year, honing your skills, learning more in this field that you're truly passionate about. So it's very important to do an in-depth research about the universities as well. So you mentioned how shortlisting was a little more difficult than making the SOP in itself. So what kind of an approach did you choose while going about writing your statement of purpose, and what key points did you choose to emphasize to make your application stand out?
Yeah, so for me, the whole structure was like, I started with why I am interested in law and why I'm interested in mental health law and criminal justice system particularly. Then I went about saying that I have these kind of internships that I have already done, and I have written these blog posts, and they show how I am passionate about this field. Then I went about writing about the specific faculty members that were teaching there, or specific research centers that existed at the universities. Then I kind of wrote about my long term and short term goals. So I had structured my SOP in this way. And I think it's important to really think about your SOP before starting to write it. It is a really introspective process. For me, when I had started to draft SOP, I kind of took just 1 month to really think about it, why I am doing law in the first place. It also helped me learn more things about myself as well. So that was there. And then reaching out to seniors or people that you might know, or people on LinkedIn in general, they also help. They also give you advice, which is what I did as well. So when I started the whole process, I think I was super underconfident, and I reached out to this person. So actually, the place where I work, Columbia Global Freedom of Expression, the associate director introduced me to a senior, Samira Matthews, another shout out. So I had my first conversation with her, and I was saying that I don't think I can do this, and I don't have anything on my CV and all of that. And she was like, go for it. You have done a lot. You just need to put this all down on a sheet of paper and you will do great. So she was there, and she really helped me, and she cleared all my doubts about the things that I had. Then other seniors and other people on LinkedIn helped as well. I approached them and I said that I don't understand, what should I really focus on. I'm quite confused. There are so many things that I'm thinking about, and they helped me to shortlist them that, okay, right now it's really broad. You need to make it really specific. So that really helps. I think, yeah, just think about your whole journey. Think about what motivates you, why you are doing law, why do you want to study at the university, what will help you, like how this particular degree would help you achieve your goals. And then I think you are set for your SOP.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you were awarded the Developing Solutions Master's Scholarship at Nottingham. So what was the application process for that like? And did you need to submit any additional essays, interviews? What was the process?
So, like I mentioned before, in the application process, there were like 6 questions which focused on what are your motivations, that you why are you applying for this program, why are you applying to this particular university, what are your short term and long term goals, things like that. And there was one specific question, what is the development impact of your studies on your home country. So that was one question that was different. Then I think the scholarship process was pretty straightforward. Once you receive your acceptance letter from university, then you are able to apply for the scholarship. So you, like, there are certain universities where you have to apply for the scholarship before and then you apply for the university, but here you have to apply to the university first, get admitted into it, and then you are eligible to apply for the scholarship. And yeah, that was the whole process. And those were kind of similar questions that I focused on while writing my SOP as well. There was just this one question which I had to answer differently, and I focused more on mental health law and criminal justice system, and I kind of connected it with how the university and the degree will help me achieve my future goals in this field.
Right, right. And you've mentioned how there were a lot of seniors and people that you connected with LinkedIn who have helped you throughout this process. And I noticed that one of your LinkedIn posts you had mentioned that you're quite willing to support other people applying for the scholarship and everything. And that was quite wonderful to see, because someone who has had their own set of struggles while going for a process, they're going out there willing to help other people. That's just wonderful. That is something we're trying to achieve with this podcast as well. So people get to have a little outlet where, as you mentioned, you didn't have as much information to gather or look into when you were applying in the first place. So now that you're willing to help other people out throughout this process, it's quite commendable for sure.
Thank you so much. I think I just want to give it back for the simple reason I was so confused, lost, and anxious, and the whole process is so daunting that if you don't have support from the right people, it becomes so difficult. Like, just not my seniors, but my best friends and my family, if they had not supported me in the way they did, I don't think I would have been able to crack the scholarship while remaining sane. It is just too difficult to manage it all. So I really want to help people because I received a lot of support from different seniors.
That's amazing. I think in our world, I've heard this quote about, it's not about who you are, it's about who you know. At times that becomes extremely important within the legal field. So do you have, because from what you have mentioned, you made amazing connections, you made a huge network of people who are out there willing to help, and now you're trying to help other people as well. Do you have any advice for our listeners, for the future students, on how to network with the right people? How do you reach out to them? How do you establish lifelong connections with them? Because even though people are able to initiate connections, something they have a problem with is maintaining them. So do you have any advice within that field?
Yeah, so there was this thing that I read somewhere earlier when I was in first or second year of law school, that sometimes when people think about contacts in the legal field, they think about their parents working in the legal field or their relatives working in the field, but they don't understand the importance of making those connections while you are interning or while you are working at different organizations. And I think I took that particular advice really seriously. So while I was interning at different organizations, I was trying to make personal connections with them as well. So that is how I went about it. And then, so I am first generation lawyer. No one in my family is from legal field or judiciary or anything. Not even like, yeah, there's no one really. So it was mostly that I connected with my seniors and I asked them for advice and I asked them for help. And then eventually I started to write blog posts and articles with them. And then even when we were not working together, I continued to text them that, oh, I have found this thing and I'm working on this particular thing, it might be of interest to you. So that is how you maintain connections. Then even with some of my mentors that helped me during my law school journey, with whom I'm not working right now, I just keep sending them some of the articles that I recently wrote, or I just send them emails that thinking about you. I just found this thing today and I was just wondering how you would approach this problem. So I do that a lot. So that is one thing, that is one thing. And then these connections introduced you to other set of people.
Right.
So you find a whole network of people from just one person. So it really helps that way. And then the other thing would be just cold email people. Sometimes they are genuinely willing to listen to you and they will help. So in my third year, when I wanted to explore the research field and academia, I think I sent around 70, 80 emails to different professors that this is something that I have already done. I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm willing to explore more and I want to learn more. And then out of 100, I think I did not receive reply from 90 people, but 10 people did reply. And 6 people said that, oh, we are not looking for any research assistant. But then there were 4 people who said that, okay, this is a project that I'm working on and you can help me with that. So cold emailing really helps. And then now I think LinkedIn also helps. You just keep putting out a different post explaining your work, and sometimes people connect over those posts and they will send you request, or you will talk to them and then you will find that you have similar kind of interest. So that is how I went about the whole networking process.
Wow, I think that's some really good advice. And sending out even 100 cold emails, it takes in the effort, and of course you won't get response from a lot of them, but you do get response from a few, and that's what matters at the end of the day. It's about who continues despite putting that much effort.
Yeah, I think when I sent those 100 emails, I did not expect a single reply. But my the first reply that I received was from a professor who said that you have really interesting profile and you are doing great work, but I don't have any RA position. And I was on top of the world that, oh, this professor has acknowledged my work, and I'm happy that even though he has rejected me, but he still responded to me. And I think at the end of the day, that acknowledgement really helps.
100%, 100%. So, what was your experience like transitioning from the legal education in India to the academic environment at Nottingham? Were there any particular modules or faculty members during your LLM that influenced you significantly?
Yeah, so I think it is completely different. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but 1 year of LLM abroad taught me so much that I did not learn in 5 years of law school in India. The system, I think it's broken and they don't teach you really at law schools. Yeah. I don't know if it was just my NLU, but yeah, I don't think I learned a lot from there. I learned more from my internships and while writing articles. That is how I learned. I used to sit in the class and I would just read live law, and yeah, that was it for me. And then during the exams, I would prepare for the exams, but I don't think I paid a lot of attention in the class. There were certain professors that I really liked, and in those classes, I paid attention, but I think they were like maybe 10%. So yeah. But when I moved abroad, it was a completely different environment. It was really stressful and difficult to manage that transition. So yeah, I think so. In undergrad, it was mostly lecture based, but in masters, it is more seminar based. So I had like 4 modules during my first semester, and I had 4 classes, 2 hours each. That's it during 1 week.
Right.
And while I was not attending the seminars, I was preparing for the seminars. So the seminars last for like two hours only, but you have to really put in maybe 24 hours to prepare for that seminar. So there are like 100 pages of reading that you have to do just for those 2 hours. But while you are reading those papers and while you are in the class, those 2 hours, I think they make you learn a lot. And then the professors there, they really appreciated and valued your opinions, and they treated you like equals, like your opinions mattered. So that really helped. And then just listening about different experiences, how different legal systems work in different countries, I think that also really helped in the master's program.
Yeah, I have heard that both the programs are extremely, very vastly different. One common opinion that came up is that the system in India, it's a little bit very rote-based learning. It doesn't really give you
Yeah.
much of a practical application. Everything is expected that you learn in your internship. And I mean, I'm sorry to say, but we have the same process as well in our college. You know, our professors are like, you will learn this during the internship. And I'm like, what is the process of going to law school then? But from what I've heard in the UK and the US, it's more practical. There's something called as externships. There are a lot of discussions and analysis that goes on during classes as well, and a lot of work that you have to do on your own to understand the matter. But the education system is like it is. That needs to be a separate podcast in itself. But all right, that's great. So post LLM, what does the job market in the UK look like for international law graduates? Does the University of Nottingham provide any structured support to help LLM students navigate the UK job market?
So for the University of Nottingham, I'm not quite sure because I did not go through the formal route, but I do think that they have certain CV building workshops like those. But apart from that, I'm not really aware what they are doing. And speaking about your first question, it is really hard and it is really difficult, especially considering the policies that almost all the European countries and US is making. They are just making immigration much harder.
Yeah.
And this year, I think they in the UK they have published a white paper and they are going to make immigration much more difficult.
Yeah.
So that is there. So in the UK, so once your student visa expires, you have to switch to graduate visa, which you get once you pass your master's degree. And this is 2 years visa, where it is also like a job seeking visa where you can work and you can look for jobs. And then after 2 years, if you want to stay in the UK, you have to look for a sponsored job. Now for sponsorship, it is a cost to the company because you have to apply for a sponsorship, because the company has to apply for a sponsorship license, and then they have to pay for your immigration health surcharge, and there are a lot of cost involved in it. So that is there. And even if you don't consider the cost, there is a lot of administrative hurdles with it. So you have to do a lot of paperwork just to get an employee sponsored. So the companies, they are not really willing to do so much of paperwork and pay an extra price, even though there are people who are much more brighter and who deserve to be there. So that is there. And if you are in the human rights field, you would maybe want to work with an NGO or charity organization or a research organization. And if you want to work with the frontline organizations, they are already very small and they already have a funding crunch. They are unable to sustain themselves, that it is just difficult for them to go through the sponsorship process. And then if you look at big human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch, I think for them, they really sponsor only when the employee or the candidate, they have like maybe 7 or 8 years of experience.
Right.
So it is very hard to break into the job market of UK. But if you are consistent and if you keep applying and if you don't lose motivation, then I think you would get a sponsored job or get a job in general.
Understandable. So it's a difficult job market out there. But with your own personal journey, were there any additional qualifications, steps, or any strategies that you used to secure professional opportunities in the UK?
Oh, yeah. So I remember one thing. So when I started applying for jobs in the UK, I remember I was using this 3 paragraph cover letter because I was using the same thing for my internship applications as well. So it was like my first paragraph was an introductory paragraph about my education and about my marks and all of that. And then the second paragraph was more about my internship experience and my articles. And then the third paragraph was about why I wanted to work at the organization. So after some time, when I was not hearing from a lot of employers, I I asked my friend to review it for me, who was working in the UK and who had been working in the UK since last 10 years at a refugee organization. And she told me that you are doing this the wrong way. You have to follow like a star method, which I will explain. So once you get the job description, there are
Mhm.
certain criteria that they have mentioned, like 7 8 characteristics they have mentioned which the candidate should have. There are certain desirable characteristics and then certain essential characteristics.
Right.
So employers give you points based on those characteristics, whether you fulfill these criteria or not. And then in your CV you have to ensure that you have done similar kind of jobs or you are able to reflect those criteria. And then in your cover letter you have to ensure that you are addressing all those characteristics. For example, if they have mentioned that they need someone who has research experience, so I have to make make a paragraph or make a small point about my research experience. I would follow like a star method: situation, task, action, and result. I would tell them that I have worked at this organization, I was given this particular task, I approached it in this manner, and this was the result.
Right. Got
And
it.
then you have like a criteria like, do you have any policy experience or do you have any parliamentary experience? These are kind of the jobs that I was looking for. And then yeah, things like this. So you have to ensure that you are addressing all those characteristics mentioned in the job description. I don't know if that is how they do it in India as well. In the internships, this is not the process, and
Right.
I never applied to any other job in India, so I'm not aware about it. But in the UK, at least, it works in this way.
Wow, I think that's some very not known advice that people should be knowing about, because there must be people out there sending out 100, 200 applications without receiving a response, not knowing that their way of application might be the problem in that situation. Thank you. Thank you so much for that advice, genuinely. So, the biggest thing that I saw on your profile is the incredible number of publications. I mean, that's just amazing. Being able to write your thoughts down in that manner, being able to publish it in so many different ways, it's amazing. So, what sparked your love for academic writing, and how did you manage to sustain that momentum across so many topics?
So, since I was interested in research, I thought that I need to write research papers as well someday. So that is how I started. And yeah, so after moods, I was trying to explore other things as well. So I
Right.
thought that let me just try my hands on articles and blog post as well. And then in the initial time, I think the first problem that I faced was I did not know what to write about and I did not have any ideas at all. So I started to read legal developments. And when I was reading a lot, I was realizing, okay, I think this is something that I'm interested in, and I think I can write like 800 or 1000 words article on this particular area. And then I think I did a lot of analysis of different bills that were being passed in the parliament, whether they conformed with the previous Supreme Court and High Court judgments or not, or how other countries were approaching the same problem. Are there any gaps in the bill, and is it legally sound? All those kind of things. Then I did some articles related to analysis of different Supreme Court judgments as well. And then
Right.
initially, I was kind of exploring different topics, mostly in the human rights area, be it on the rights of prisoners or on mental health law or maybe some on refugee law as well, and freedom of expression too. So I explored a lot of topics, and then I realized that I really like mental health law also because it is not explored a lot. And then when I received emails from certain people, I received an email from Professor 𝗕𝗿𝗶𝗲𝗳 way back in 2020 when I had
My
written the impact of climate refugees. And that
God.
is when I realized, okay, my research is useful and I should continue writing articles. And then when I see that there were some articles that I wrote on mental health law are still being cited at different places, I feel like, okay, my research is going in the right direction. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you are not able to see the impact of your work, you lose confidence and you feel like, why am I doing this, and I
Yeah,
don't want to do this anymore.
right.
So yeah, sometimes things like this, or people appreciating your research skills or articles, it just helps you to
I think
build
you're
the
far too humble with your work, genuinely. This is
confidence.
brilliant, brilliant thing. I mean, 𝗿𝗶𝗲𝗳, we have read his articles, we've read his books. Oh my God, that is amazing. And even your own work being cited in other papers, brilliant. Hats off, genuinely.
Thank you so much. But yeah, also there was this another thing that sometimes some papers just don't get accepted. For
Mm-hmm.
example, it gets accepted later on at a different in a different journal or in a different blog, but sometimes they don't get accepted in another blog. So I
Right.
don't really understand the whole process, but the whole process is really difficult because you are on your toes, whether you are going to receive a reply soon, whether they liked your article, whether they are going to publish your article. And sometimes they don't respond, especially with the
Exactly.
newspaper articles.
Mhm.
And sometimes these articles are also topical, because if so I have written an article this week on a legal judgment that has just been ruled out, and then after 1 week I think it will just lose its importance.
That is true.
So sometimes you just don't hear back from people, so it's really difficult that way.
And also they have this thing where if you send an article somewhere in one place, you can't send it to another place unless it gets published. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to deal with and understand that process. But now that you, with your LLM journey and everything, do you think these publications played a role when it comes to application process? Do they set out your application for the LLM?
Yeah, definitely. So, research papers or blog posts or articles, they are really important to show that you are passionate about this field. You are passionate about the things that you are doing, because academics and your SOP can only help you in certain ways, but you also need to show them that there are certain things that you have already done, which shows your passion which shows your passion or consistency about the field that you have chosen. So that really helps. And since in LLM you have to do a lot of coursework and all of that, so just having research papers really help. But if you don't have any research papers, I don't think it will just decrease your chances, but you need to show them something that you have done, to show them that you can do your future work as well.
Right.
You need to show them the consistency and hard work that you have already put in.
It sets you apart, makes you a little different, gives you that little boost within the application process. It's wonderful, Ono. So with this, we're reaching our last and final question. What is the one piece of advice you would like to give to someone considering an LLM abroad in human rights law? Something you wish you had known before you started your own journey?
I think for me, because the whole law school and everything has been so anxious and enjoyable at the same time, because I did not took time to rest and pause and to reflect on the things that I've already done, I really struggled that way. So it is really important for anyone who is in this field or any other field as well, to just take some time off, take breaks. And during those breaks, I think it is important to appreciate the smaller wins, because otherwise you just get lost and you feel like you have not done anything and you have not achieved anything. So it just really lowers down your confidence. So it is really important to appreciate your smaller wins. And I think it would really help to maintain journal, to maintain an achievement diary where you just write down, oh, I received this particular appreciation email from a senior of mine, that they appreciated my work, I did really good at internship today, or I got an acceptance from this particular blog post. And just to and or maybe things like, I have written this article today and I have made a really good sound argument and I'm really proud of it. So things like this, I think it would be really good for anyone to maintain an achievement journal, so that they appreciate smaller wins without getting lost in the whole process.
That is true. I think that's some wonderful advice. We have to constantly remind ourselves of what we have done, how far we have reached in our journey. That is some good advice.
Definitely.
So, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Brief Encounters. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for sharing such valuable insights and experiences with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Ria. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I really hope that someone who is listening to this podcast, they are helped by these advices, or they resonate with my experiences, and it could help them to achieve their goals or to apply for LLM or scholarships abroad. Or if anyone wants to reach out to me as well, I am more than happy to put my email ID somewhere.
Yeah, 100%.
And
We can add that. Yeah.
yeah, perfect. And I would be more than happy to help you, or just to have a conversation about how you are doing. And even if you are feeling lost, I know I have been there too. I would be more than happy to just have a conversation about that with you.
Oh my God, that is so amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people will find all the advice you gave very helpful. As a law student in the making, I know I did. So I can definitely speak for them as well. So thank you so much again. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found today's discussion as enlightening as I did. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow and leave us a comment. Until next time, thank you again.